One question I get asked a lot around guns I review is, can I use it for pest control? So I thought it was time to put together a programme to help guide people around the use of airguns for this purpose. What guns are suitable? What power level is required? Distances, scope and noise levels. Let's take a look. Hello and welcome to AAR on Air. Pest control then today. This is a bit of a touchy subject and I am more interested in filming the guns, accuracy, power levels, and as usual I won't be showing scenes of pigeon pulverising, rat remodelling or the like. The term pest covers a whole host of different things, from small to medium to large. Rats, pigeons, rabbits, foxes, deer and even some things as iguanas in some countries. I realise that pest control is a contentious issue and I get that. The only thing I would say is that infestations in the wrong place can cause a lot of damage or even result in food stocks being unusable and needing to be scrapped. And of course, history has shown the possible spread of disease if left uncontrolled. It needs to be fully understood that if anyone is going to undertake any pest control, it needs to be done humanely and with the right tools for the job. I could spend the entire programme talking about the reasons, morality, opinions and feelings, but I think I've covered off enough. And I'll leave it to you guys in the comments to pick up on any other points maybe. So, let's start with the guns I get asked most about and their possible suitability. Your average CO2 replica type BB or pellet pistol. None of these were ever designed for pest control. They are replicas and a lot of them are exceptionally good. Sometimes a little too scary, and they're so close to the real thing. They make great collector's guns and practice guns, but they don't make great pest control tools. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that they're not at all suitable. They are, in the main, underpowered, though some are more powerful than others. Some are inherently inaccurate, and being a pistol, they're harder to hold accurately anyway than any rifle. They're really only accurate, when you have an accurate version, over shorter distances of, say, up to 10 metres. Some would argue they're only intending using them on very small vermin, such as mice. But a mouse is a very small target, and you would need to be very close to be able to hit it in the first instance, a situation that doesn't present itself that often. The two takeaways here is power and accuracy. In the UK, the legal maximum power level for any air pistol is 6 foot-pounds, and in replica types, this is very rarely achieved by the manufacturers. But even when it is achieved, and for this Webley Mark 6, for example, does come pretty close in the right conditions, because with CO2s, temperature does play a part in the power levels. But it is still not as stable to shoot as a rifle, or even a pistol with a stock attachment fitted. Which brings us onto such things as this PP700W, which is about as close to 6 foot-pounds as you can get in a pistol. It is PCP, so not quite as susceptible to temperatures affecting the power levels. And with that folding stock, pretty much has the rigidity of a small rifle. It can then have an external sight aid fitted to improve the accuracy level even further. So we're getting close now to what is needed to do the job. We have accuracy, but still not a huge amount of power. Possibly enough now to take out that small rodent, but not enough to dispatch one of Chris Packham's pets, an armour-plated wood pigeon. Let's also not forget we are now starting to spend similar money to a decent budget rifle, which would have that accuracy and twice the power output, which to my mind is starting to make far more sense. One thing to take into consideration around the power level is that so far we've talked about X amount of foot-pounds, but this is measured at the barrel and not out at 20, 30 or 40 metres, where the target is positioned, and a typical pellet can lose up to 30 to 50% of its energy by the time it gets there. So your 6 foot-pound, barely capable power level is now going to struggle to knock the skin off a rice pudding out at any distance. Hopefully at this point we're in agreement then that a UK pistol isn't going to cut the mustard. There are countries out there where power levels allowed are far greater, and if the accuracy thing can be covered off, then possibly they could be used in some circumstances. There may be a group of people out there now suggesting springers, pump-ups, etc. Again, with all pistols, it's power levels and accuracy, irrespective of the method the power is put into the gun. Hopefully that's covered off the pistol question. Now let's move on to rifles then. Again, I'm primarily looking at this point around sub 12 foot-pound UK power levels. Rifles open up lots of different doors to the potential pest control situations, such as calibers, ammunition type, scopes, silencers, rests, and much, much more. These are a more focused tool for the job, making them undoubtedly more suitable for the task. Power levels then. First, as we've already said, they are twice as powerful as a pistol, and even with that drop in power at point of impact out at distances, they are still carrying a heck of a lot more usable power at that point than the pistol. For example, a .22 caliber typical weight pellet of say 16 grains will have left the barrel with about 12 foot-pounds or near enough to that. Out at 20 metres, it's only got 10.1 foot-pounds left. At 30 metres, 9.3 foot-pounds left. 40 metres, 8.5 foot-pounds. And trying to stretch a sub 12 foot-pound rifle out to 50 metres, it will only have around 7.5 foot-pounds of energy left to take out that pest. And if it's a wood pigeon, likely as not, unless it's a headshot, you're simply going to damage the bird. Now, the head of one of these little darlings is not a big thing, and to be able to hit this at that kind of distances we've just mentioned takes a good scope and a bit of practice. Now, you could put on a really cheap scope and have more parallax issues than a little, and by moving your head just slightly out of line can be the difference of hitting the target or not. Likewise, an overkill, super high magnification scope would allow you to see the glint in its eye if it weren't for the fact that the optics aren't good enough and everything starts to go milky. So you need to choose a reasonable quality and magnification scope for the job. You don't need to spend the entire contents of Fort Knox, but you will need to save up about as much as the wife would probably spend on a couple of pairs of posh shoes or a designer handbag. Yep, that's me in trouble now with all the shooters' wives out there. With this setup and, as I say, a bit of practice, this is the kind of level, realistically, you need. You can then add a bipod or the like to stabilise the whole thing. And if your rifle didn't come with a silencer or moderator as standard, pop one of those on and you won't annoy the neighbours either. And you may even get that second shot off to take out the little devil's mate perched out there at the side of him. At this point, I should point out that realistically this setup is focused on such size pests as rats, pigeons and rabbits, and really isn't suitable for anything much bigger at this power level. To hit anything bigger, then you still need the accuracy, naturally, but you're also going to need a lot more power. And in the UK, that requires a firearm certificate to be able to go down this route. If we then look at higher power levels, we can also start to throw in different ammunition. In sub-12s, you see there is a whole host of pellets available for pest control, some far more efficient than others. And I've done many tests on these over the years. Needless to say, find a pellet your gun likes and use them. A good starting point would be to either get hold of a sample pack, which is a cheaper way than buying tins and tins and tins of pellets, or a good starting point to my mind would be to buy a tin of JSB Hades, because these seem to like most guns, and I have used them in a lot of different rifles with very pleasing results. As we've said, get into the higher power realms, however, and you can start and look at the new slugs that are coming out, which retain far more energy at the point of impact, deform amazingly, and due to their shape and ballistic coefficiency are really very accurate. With the higher power guns, you can have higher caliber ammunition, and you're not stuck with the usual 177 and 22 world with .25 or .30 calibers, and even higher calibers than that, and they have much more hitting power, which opens up the world to some bigger quarry. Now, in the rifles I've just been talking about, I was referring to either pre-charged pneumatic or some Springer types. All of these mentioned are fully capable of a spot of pest control, each with its own advantage and disadvantages, most of which I've covered off in previous videos. I wasn't, however, referring to the CO2 types, some of which, even in rifle form, can still be susceptible to changes in power around extremes of temperatures because of the CO2s. Some of them are perfectly capable of taking out smaller quarry, but really shouldn't be used on anything of any substantial size. I would point out that using something like this, which I really like, is not a good idea, because these are again more for fun, and the power levels from this are really not much more than a pistol. And after all, you wouldn't want to take this out into a muddy field on a wet, miserable day. There are such things as the Umrex 850 M2 Empire, for example, which are pretty much full power and capable of doing the job. Hopefully, I've covered off most things in this programme around suitability of certain air weapons in a pest control environment. Naturally, I haven't covered off all types of pests and all guns, but given you more of a rough rule of thumb to ensure a humane dispatch. As always, if you found it useful, please give us the thumbs up, subscribe if for some bizarre reason you haven't already, hit the alarm bell to be notified, check out all the social media, take a look, of course, at the website, and maybe pester the guys at Vector Air if you want to know what tool you need for your pest control problem. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Stay safe, shoot safe. Bye for now.